Castor's going to be doing some more lunging with long targets. So this is going to be part 2 and 3. So before we just charged the target, I just rewarded him for touching it. And now we're going to do a little bit more lunging. So I'm just leading him over there. We're just working on him following behind me nicely, like off to the side, and then stopping when I ask him to stop, like on our way to the target here. So now I'm going to introduce how I would like to hold it so I don't have to pick it up and set it down every single time. I'm asking back up here. So since I lifted it up, he's like, oh, I'm going to go touch it right next to you. That's what brought him into me, but that's okay. I just asked him to back up there, and then I should be clicking and rewarding this because I do want this distance. And I want it to be very clear to him, like, okay, I want you to stay over there, even when the target's up, because then I don't have to set it on the ground every time and then have to pull it up. I can just have it up and bring it down. So it's just halfway instead of all the way down. So I'm asking him to go forward with my cue, which he already did, and then I went ahead and brought down the target, which I should have just clicked and fed there because he followed my hand cue just perfectly fine. But that's the goal. The goal is like you have your target, and you might have to be careful at this part where, okay, I thought I was going to bring it all the way up because it might scare the horse when you bring it all the way up to the top, and it's vertical. But he's being really good here. He's following it, but I want that voice cue, hand cue, whichever one you want to use, and then I present the target. So now I'm just doing like not a whole lap, but like a half a lap. So he's going from a few steps to like a quarter of the circle to half the circle to the whole circle. Um, so really I should have him following this like at least a whole circle before I start introducing the hand cues. So like he's confused. He wants to come in. I'm asking him to back up. I say go that way. And then I present the target and he's going toward it. And that looks pretty nice. I could have definitely broken this down so it's not quite as many behaviors put together. Castor did figure it out. I'm not sure why I asked for like use my cue and then didn't use my cue afterward. I don't know. I don't know why. Because he was responding to it. Um, so if he doesn't respond to it, he's just like, I mean, you have your target, so then you can make the horse respond. So I don't know. So he kind of picked up his head when I picked it all the way up. I think most of that was just him following it. I'm asking back up. See, I should have been clicking and feeding him for standing out there. There we go. That was good. But we were working on that same thing when we were in the round pen is I was asking him to go forward with that hand and voice cue. Very nice. That looks really good. So we did a couple really good steps. He was added some distance between him and I, so that looked really good. I'm really happy with that. Looks good that way. Nice. Yeah, I'm really happy with that too. And I did way too much for Castor. I should have kept going to the left for a while and then switched to the right. I'm really surprised that he's being so good. And then like now I'm asking him to do like a half a lap. That was really nice. Yep, see, I asked for too much because now he's coming in because I'm asking him for way too much. That was good though. I mean, he's responding. He just came in and was like, "Hey, where's my shirt at?" So that was really nice. I should have just stuck with my one direction and worked on that, and then worked on him stopping and waiting, and then gone the other way, and then worked on my cues, and broken it down. I'm adding the direction, and I'm adding the cues, and I'm adding all this stuff at once. So I'm actually pretty impressed that he wasn't super confused, but he was really good. So this is going to cut to part 3, where we're going to work on a little bit more lunging. This might have been the same day, and I just might have gotten more food, but we're going to just work on the lunging a little bit more. So there, that was good. I'm rewarding him for standing and waiting at a distance. I definitely need more of that. I definitely would fix that now. If I was retraining it now, I would fix that. He's being excellent too. So this is much better. Where he's got his head nice and low, he's staying in a distance from me, he's not scooting in, he's not anticipating going forward. That's really nice. Okay, I think I cued him forward there. I think he stopped on his own there. Very nice. That was really good. I'm not sure why I didn't use my hand cue. I just used my voice cue. I'm not sure if I wanted to just switch it up, but that could be confusing for your horse. So make sure if you're gonna do a voice cue or a hand cue or both at the same time, you have to be the same. Stick to the same cue. Decide that before you teach the behavior. I don't know what I was doing in this video. So, but this is better. This is a better change where I'm rewarding him for standing and staying out there. That is much better improvement. So I do like that. But if I want like walk on, and if I want it sequenced, I can do that too. So I usually like to do that because then I can, so now I'm pointing. Maybe I just forgot what happened, but I like to do walk on, verbal, and then I point. I'm not sure why I brought the target out because he was doing good. But because then by using two different cues like that, then I have one for undersaddle, I have one for the ground. So, or like I have two cues for it. So like if you couldn't hear me for whatever reason, or if you couldn't see me for whatever reason, I have both of those cues. That's what I do. But so it's important that he steps and stands in between going, because if he just goes and goes and goes, you're gonna have a horse that never stands still and doesn't wait for your cues. So that's why I keep saying like I need to be rewarding him for standing still and waiting, and he only needs to be going forward on the cue. I need to put that cue on really early on so that he's just doing it when I ask. If he's just going, then I don't reward it, he's going to be really frustrated. So by rewarding him standing still, I'm telling him, yes, you're doing something right, and then he's not frustrated. Then I can build up the amount of time that he stands still, and then give him the cue to go forward. So he can still go forward, but I'm not just ignoring that forward and he's getting frustrated. So that's important when training this. But I love this long target because I can position his body where I want it to be. So if I need it a little shorter, a little longer, I can move it. I can change his head and neck position. That's a little bit harder with the around the round pen. You can do it and you can go inside and like walk around the inside of it and have a target, not necessarily this one, to change the head and neck position. But I like this. I thought this was really nice, and this length of PVC worked really well too. So I'm really happy with how it worked out. I felt ridiculous for a while, but the end behavior is going to be really nice because you can see little pieces of it here where I have the target up and I'm just asking him to lunge and he's just going around me on his own at liberty and he's bending really nicely and whistling. So it's going to be really nice behavior when it's done. So I gotta be careful with that. I don't think I asked him to go forward there. He is doing really nice. Like this is gonna be the end behavior, a glimpse of it, where he's just walking around bending. That's really nice. But yeah, I think he did that on his own. He definitely did this on his own. So you want to be careful and make sure that he's not rehearsing this behavior. So when he was going around and he's starting to slow down, maybe dip in a little bit. Maybe I redirect him or I click and treat him before he starts doing those things so that I'm not getting him practicing turning in. So this could also reward him where I asked him to back up. So I asked him to back up out of my space, but I'm just giving him another cue that gives him another behavior to be rewarded. So he might think, oh, I come in and then back up and then I get a treat. He could add those behaviors together. So you gotta be careful with that too. So if you think you might have a hard time holding the long target or fixing all those little behaviors, that's why the round the round pen is so handy, is they can't come in. There's the barrier there, so that prevents it, and it's a lot easier that way. So he's just following the target. I like where his head and neck is. That looks really good. Really, I could start phasing out the target at this point, or starting to trot, moving on at this point, because he's really got it. So I'm really happy with how quickly he learned this. This is much better, where he's just chilling and standing out there, and I'm clicking and treating him for that. That's really good. And really, I would just start with 1 second. He can stand out there for 1 second, click, feed. Then walk back to the middle, click again, go back out. Stand in the middle for 2 seconds, go back out, feed him. So that's how I would do that and shape that behavior. I'm not sure if he walked off on his own there. He might have, and then I just let him, I guess. And this is also interesting because it's like I let him do a lot of different mistakes, and yes, it's going to take longer because I have to fix them, but he still has good behavior afterward. Like I still have a really nice lunge behavior, even though I didn't do it perfectly. I know a lot of people have that thing where they're like, oh, well, if I don't know everything about this and I'm not perfect at it, then I just can't do it. And really, that's not true because I wasn't doing this perfectly and I still have a nice horse and we still have a good behavior. And but we're still climbing and striving and doing better. So, and learning as we go here. Because this, I don't really need this. I don't mind this. He's not being bad. He's not being aggressive or anything. He's just kind of investigating. But ideally, like he would stay out there and then go and lunge. And then again here, like if he comes up into my space and then I take him out with the target, he could think that's part of that behavior as well. He might come in, stand really close to me, and then go out and then get a reward. So gotta be careful with that as well. This is good though. Again, lots of more standing. So this definitely helped his behavior here. Lots of standing. You always have to reinforce balancing behavior. So he were doing a lot of going forward. He needs to do just as much or more standing still depending on your horse. Castor's really, I wouldn't say he was a forward horse. I would say he wants to just go forward because I've trained that into him. Like I would get stuck on a lot of forward behaviors. So he's about even. Like I can spend about half my time rewarding him for standing still, but I think I'm the one who needs it more than he does. But if you have a really go-y horse like my thoroughbred, I had to do a lot of standing still. That was probably 75%. He needed to stand still and relax and be rewarded for that. And then the other 25% he could go forward because that was self-reinforcing for him. And then that might be the opposite is true for a really chill horse, one that doesn't really want to go forward. Like you might not have to reinforce those standing behaviors nearly as much because they're reinforcing for that horse. So he was standing still while I fixed my target, so I'm going to reinforce that. That looks really good. So I'm really happy with all these lessons. It's looking really good, and then I'll get some videos together of his final behavior. I do think he starts trotting here, and then we'll work on the canter and taking away the target and doing some like inside turns and stuff like that. But overall, he is being fantastic. He's being a great little model for this exercise. Me, not so much because I have a lot of things to work on, but that's good. Like it's handy to point out those things that you shouldn't do too.